Welcome back to part 6. We are talking about preventing sexual dating abuse. Here's a quick overview of what we will be talking about today. A lot of this is activity-based or scenario-based, but some of the activities we'll get into are incorrect and harmful assumptions, recognizing sexual dating abuse, preventing sexual dating abuse, and for parents talking about date rape, drugs prevention. For this next activity, you can do it together, so I want you to follow along as we look at some true or false statements. So just read each 6 of these and decide whether you think it is true or false. Mark that down somewhere and we will go over the answers after you have finished. Pause this video if needed. You should have given yourself enough time to decide whether each 6 of these are true or false, and now we are going to go over the correct answers. So here are some things that I want you to remember about each of these. They are actually mostly all false, okay? So the very first one, I want you to remember that people sometimes believe this, that if someone's wearing tight or sexy clothing, that they mean that they want to have sex. However, a person can wear clothes like this sometimes because they want to look attractive and in style, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they want to have sex. Number 2, someone who talks about sex a lot is having sex. Sometimes people talk about it because they want others to think they're having sex, even though they're not. They may be interested in sex and therefore talk about it, but they may not want to actually have sex. So, people who maybe talk about it a lot might not be actually having it a lot. So, that's false as well. 3, when someone goes into a bedroom alone with a person, it means that they want to have sex. That's false. A person who may go into a bedroom with someone else because they want to get closer, which to them may mean hugging and kissing and cuddling. It doesn't necessarily mean that people want to have sex. Number 4, boys always want to have sex, so they really can't be sexually abused or raped by a dating partner. That's false. Girls are more likely to get raped, but many boys also report being forced by a person they are dating to do sexual things they did not want to do. Just like girls, boys who are forced to do sexual things they do not want to do have bad feelings about it and can suffer from psychological effects such as anxiety and depression. Number 5, when someone freezes or is very still, this means they want to have sex and are okay with their partner proceeding. That's false too. Under this kind of sexual pressure, a person may freeze or hold still simply because they're afraid and don't know how to get out of the situation. If a person is holding still, their dating partner should interpret it as a sign the person does not want to have sex, and the dating partner should immediately stop pressuring them. The last one. If someone's had sex with a previous dating partner, they definitely want to have sex with their current dating partner. That is also false. So all of them are technically false. Having had sex with a previous person does not mean that someone wants to have sex with another person. A person is not available sexually to everyone just because they have had sex before. So those are a few points to remember and to remind each other, if that sort of thing comes up with friends or with family, that all of these statements are false. This next activity involves 2 parts, Part A and Part B. You'll see on the screen that it'll hop to Part A, and this is what I want you to read first. So go ahead and read this, pause the video, and then you'll go through some questions afterwards. In this story, Chad raped Shauna. So, with that in mind, I want you to go through, pause this video, and talk about each of the questions that will proceed. So here are some points that I want you to remember as we're reading about the story of Chad and Shauna. The very first question, what things did Chad do to force Shauna to have sex? Chad made her feel bad about herself, scared her, and told her he would take care of her, and made her think she'd lose him if she didn't have sex with him. No matter what methods are used, sex without permission is rape. The next one, what were the signs that Shauna did not want to have sex? Shauna said she was scared, she said she was not ready to have sex with Chad, she was crying and unsure, and she froze. Teens need to pay attention to the signs that their dates are not ready to have sex. The next screen to pop up will have 3 additional questions, and we'll go over those as well. So go ahead and pause the screen when it pops up and answer these questions together. Now that you've paused the video and talked about them, let's go over these questions together. The third question says, what are some bad things that could have happened to Shauna because she was raped? Shauna could become pregnant or get a sexually transmitted infection. She might also have sexual and intimacy problems in the future. She could become depressed, anxious, and fearful. She might have trouble focusing on school, work, or other activities that were important to her before she was raped. The next one, what are some bad things that could have happened to Chad because he raped Shauna? Chad could be arrested and found guilty of rape. He could have a felony record for the rest of his life, which could prevent him from going to college, having a military career, or getting a good job. He could get a sexually transmitted infection or father a child before he is ready. Chad could feel shame and guilt. He might also have trouble in other relationships. The last one. At what points in the story could Chad have done something different to avoid the outcome? What could have happened instead? Chad made the mistake of interpreting Shauna's joining him in the bedroom as a sign that she wanted to have sex. He also made the mistake of believing that Shauna had sex with her previous boyfriend based on the brags he'd heard. It might not even be true. But if she had, Chad shouldn't assume that just because Shauna had sex with her previous boyfriend, she was ready to have sex with him now. He also ignored Shauna's signs that she did not want to have sex. When Shauna said that she was scared and that she wasn't ready for sex, Chad could have immediately stopped pressuring her. The person who is forced to have sex is often blamed for it. However, it is never that person's fault. There is no circumstances that make forced sexual acts okay. Forced sex is rape, and rape is a crime. Now that we've gone through these points, we will move to Part B, and this is between a few different people. So go ahead and stop the screen when it pops up, and you can talk about the questions afterwards. In this story, Enrico sexually abused Sophie. Now that you've read about these two, we're going to read about Brianna and Jace. Go ahead, pause the screen, read about Brianna and Jace, and then we will have some questions for you to discuss afterwards. In this story, Brianna sexually abused Jace. Now look at these questions and discuss the answers together. In this next section that will come up, there are going to be strategies to avoid or prevent committing sexual dating abuse or rape against another person, and strategies on how to avoid becoming a victim of sexual dating abuse and rape. So go through and read all of these together, and at the very bottom, you're going to put 2 of your own answers. So go ahead and do that together. If you need to, you can go ahead and pause the screen for each of them. Another way to prevent sexual dating abuse from happening is to know about date rape drugs. So this could be a review for caregivers or caregivers and teens together. I'm going to give you the information and then you all can discuss afterwards. When date rape drugs are slipped into a person's drink, the person will lose some amount of consciousness and control, becoming an easy target for rape. One very common type of date rape drug is Rufinol, also called Roofies, Roche, Roach, R2, and Rope. Other types are GHB, ketamine, and ecstasy. Some Rufinol pills are small, round, and white, but newer types are gray-green ovals. The newer types are made to prevent their misuse. When slipped into a drink, a dye in these new pills make clear liquids turn bright blue and dark liquids turn cloudy. Still, this color change might be hard to see in drinks such as cola or dark beer or in a dark room. Moreover, the original dye-free Rufinol is still available and it cannot be seen in a drink. Remember, too, that alcohol is probably the most common drug leading to sexual dating abuse and rape. More rapes have been committed under the influence of alcohol than under the influence of any of the drugs mentioned above. To learn more about sexual dating abuse and rape drugs, visit these websites. The National Institute on Drug Abuse is drugabuse.gov. Women's Health, date rape drugs, you can go to womenshealth.gov and search date rape drugs. This section might have been harder than other sessions. However, I'm so glad that you made it to the end. Next up, we'll be having section 7 or session 7, and we'll be talking about planning for the future.